All right, so it's super important to make sure that you can fire up your glutes when you are training them. So before a glute workout, doing some activation exercises to really connect with that mind muscle activation can benefit you when you go into your bigger lifts, your squats, your lunges, your hip thrusts, and all that to connect with your glutes. So a couple of things here we can do. We'll stand about shoulder to hip distance, wherever you can feel the tension in the bands, and bring those bands just above your knees, okay? The thicker the bands, generally the more tension you're gonna have. And what we'll work in here is kind of like a quarter squat. We're hinging at the hips, we've got a nice flat back, but there's a soft bend in the knees. And then we take one step to the right, let the other foot come to meet it, and then just take a step to the left and let the right foot meet it. And we'll just alternate through those, continuing to press the knees out into the bands so we make sure that the knees don't knock in. Abs are nice and tight here. And I would say anywhere from about 40 to 60 seconds. And just really put that connection on the glute, especially when you step out nice and wide. Keep those hips back just a little bit. And then we'll go right from those into a standing kickback. Squeezing into the glute, trying not to take it into the low back. So you can hold on to something for balance. And we just kick that leg straight back, big squeeze there in the glute. And I would just go for about 20 to 25, slow and steady each side. Nice straight leg there. Lifting with the glute and not that hamstring. We've got a slight little forward lean here. Hips are back again, soft little bend in the standing leg. Making sure to kick straight back so we're not trying to open up that hip there. Belly is tight, and that just protects the low back. So we'll rest in just about 30 seconds and go back and do it another time or two. I'll do it probably one more time on this video, and then we'll switch to our last activation exercise for some kneeling fire hydrants. All right. So here we go. I can feel them. They're screaming. All right, and then the standing kickbacks. And this time I'm just gonna alternate the standing legs. So I started with the right last time, and start with the left this time. Really try to find that connection, that big squeeze at the top of the movement. So for this next one, it'll be fire hydrants. I'm gonna go without bands, but you can use bands as well on your fire hydrants. We'll come down to a kneeling position. And when we do these, it's leading with our knee, opening up the hip here. So hip abduction. Finding a flex in the foot, shoulders stack right over the wrist, and just let the hips be right over the knees. So we'll start to lift up, open up, no twisting in the spine. Find that outer glute, and then come back down. So we lift out and up. It's a nice abduction, so you want to send that leg out away from the body. And keeping that knee as high as the foot at the top, if not a little bit higher. And just going for about 15 to 20 reps. Keeping the core nice and tight here. Arms nice and straight. And then just make sure to find that on the other side. Keeping the gaze right out in front of the fingertips, so that neck stays nice and long. Leading with that knee. All right. So we're just gonna work into one set of those this morning. You can always add another one. And then the last thing to do, other than activating those glutes before the workout, is to release the tight hip flexors. Tight hip flexors make it a lot more challenging for the glutes to fire. So we come into a low lunge here. The right is gonna be just under the hip, maybe a little touch behind. I like to interlace the fingers here at the thigh and start to press that right hip forward, finding a stretch in the front hip flexor. Make sure your left heel stays down on the mat. Let out of it. And just do that about 6 to 8 times. Finding a stretch there in the front of that right hip. And you can even fire up that glute there and give it a big squeeze. So sometimes the prep work for our workouts aren't glamorous. They aren't the most enjoyable, but they are very necessary. Make sure to do both sides. You might notice that you have one side tighter than the other. And then when you get into your glute focused exercises, finding that mind muscle connection with every single rep. They are all important. Everything serves a purpose. Enjoy your workout. Thanks for joining me.